Go.
Okay. I remember sitting in the corner of a musty second-hand bookstore downtown, waiting. The walls were covered in stories. There were too many to tell. It was as if tiny bits of conversation were choked, caught straight in the throat of the old man bookseller. I was 15 and never spoke. With short, dark hair that covered my face, I hid from the rest of the world. Instead of talking, my voice was covered on slips of white paper, mini spiral notebook sheets, the sides of flyers, the backs of receipts. They were covered in strangled sentences that barely made it out. I had pockets full of stories. From the floor of the bookstore, I parceled out my receipts. I scribbled phrases, sticking words into books and books into cases, so that the old man could find them. There were snippets of conversation heard earlier that day, as well as poems about people just outside the window. I hoped that he would read them and see glimpses of the lives that I wanted to know. If someone could read my writing, they would know the secrets of my mind, and in that moment of reading, I could feel them, close and connected. For hours during the morning and afternoons, I sat alone, half reading and half listening. I listened for all the topics the old man didn't say. He never asked me, why wasn't I at school, or where did I live? He never questioned my existence, or talked to me like a kid. When I walked into the shop, the old man guided me gently to the back where the fiction was. A hand on my back, hair in my face, I glided past the rows and rows of bookshelves. On the far corner near the mystery section, he fingered the spines of his favorite stories. Half hands fumbled for the right flow of fiction. He was careful with his recommendations, and when he looked at each book, he did so with an intense but tired gaze. His face was sagging and his eyes were crumpled, gray, crinkled around the edges. If only he would touch my spine, take me home with him, feed me tomato soup from a big black pot, and read to me. We'd play board games and drink small glasses of liquor until our tongues loosened. I could almost feel our conversation bubbling up from my throat. At last, when the old man stopped running hands across hard covers, he pulled out a burgundy-colored book with the name Mrs. Bridge by Evan S. Connell scrolled along the top. His hands were trembling when he slid it toward me. The book smelled like 1950s, and I could feel the softness. It's about quiet desperation, he said. I could feel the words melting down the back of my throat. Just as good as soup, almost as good as conversation. It's called Soup.
Nice.